Hello and welcome. Today, we're going to dive deep into a single, powerful sentence from the Islamic tradition. It's a kind of spiritual formula, really, and it's so profound that it can literally reframe the meaning of every single thing you do.
But let's start with a question we can all relate to. Have you ever wondered why two people can do the exact same thing? Let's say they both donate the same amount to charity, or they both put in the same hours at work, and yet the results, both the ones we can see and the ones we can't, are just worlds apart? What is that invisible factor that changes absolutely everything?
Well, that invisible variable, that big question, finds its answer in what you could call a prophetic formula for life. It's a teaching from over 1,400 years ago that honestly feels more relevant today than it ever has.
And here it is. This is the statement, narrated by Umar ibn al-Khattab, one of the closest companions of the Prophet Muhammad. Now, I know at first glance it might seem pretty straightforward, but as we're about to see, its real power is hidden in the details.
I mean, just think about this. Scholars have called this single narration a magnificent foundation of the entire faith. Some have gone so far as to say it represents a third of all Islamic knowledge. So why? Why so important? Because it's the ultimate scale for judging our inner world. The actions of the heart, which are the real drivers behind everything we do physically.
So to really get a feel for this statement's incredible impact, we have to put on our linguistic detective hats. Seriously, the secret to its power is locked inside its incredibly precise and powerful language.
It all starts with the very first word, innama. This isn't just a simple opening, like verily or truly. No. This is an Arabic particle of exclusivity. It means only or exclusively, and that one word changes everything. The statement isn't just saying actions are related to intentions. It's saying actions are only and exclusively valid by their intentions. It creates this unbreakable link. No valid intention, no spiritual validity for the action. Period.
Okay, so you might read the first two parts and think, wait, isn't that just saying the same thing twice? But it's not. They actually serve two very distinct functions. The first part, actions are by intentions, tells us that an action's very validity depends on having an intention. But the second part, and each person gets what they intended, is all about the reward. It answers the question, okay, so what was the goal of your intention? What were you really aiming for?
And to make this crystal clear, the Prophet gives this powerful real-world example from his time, migration, the hijrah. So case number one, if someone undertakes this incredibly difficult, life-changing journey for the highest possible purpose, for God and His messenger, the reward is stated with equal honor. Their migration is for God and His messenger. The outcome perfectly mirrors that noble intention.
But now, look at the contrast. Someone else does the exact same thing. They pack up their life, they face the same dangers, the same grueling journey, but their reason is different. They're doing it to get some kind of worldly benefit or maybe to marry a specific person. The action looks identical from the outside, right? But the engine inside is completely different. And just notice the subtle but brilliant shift in how the reward is worded.
This is where we see this powerful rhetorical technique in Arabic called tahqir, which basically means the art of belittling. Did you notice? The text doesn't repeat the lesser goals. It doesn't say his migration is for worldly gain and a woman. It just waves it away and says, it's for that which he migrated for. By not even repeating them, the language itself declares those goals as too insignificant to even be mentioned in the same breath as God and His messenger. It's such a subtle but amazing way to establish what truly has value.
And look, this is not just some abstract theory or a cool language lesson. This principle is intensely practical. It's the mechanism that lets you decide moment by moment if your daily actions are just empty habits or if they are meaningful acts of worship.
So in Islamic law, this idea of intention, or niyyah, it does two main jobs. The first job is to separate a simple, everyday habit from a spiritual act of worship. And the second job is to tell different acts of worship apart from each other. For example, is the prayer you're about to do the obligatory noon prayer, or is it an extra voluntary one? The intention is what makes that distinction. Let's make this super simple. Think about taking a shower. If you hop in the shower just to cool down on a hot day, well, that's a habit. It's a neutral act. But if you do the exact same thing, turn on the water, wash yourself, but you do it with the intention of performing a ritual purification to get ready for prayer, that very same act is instantly elevated into an act of worship. Same action, different intention, and a completely different spiritual reality. And this leads to a concept that is truly life-changing. Scholars call it the habits of the vigilant. And what it means is the conscious practice of using your intention to turn every single mundane part of your life into something sacred.
So here's how it works in real life. Eating isn't just eating anymore. It becomes worship when you intend to gain strength for your prayers and good deeds. Going to sleep becomes an act of worship when you do it with the intention of waking up refreshed for the dawn prayer. Even going to work becomes worship when your intention is to provide for your family in a way that pleases God. Suddenly, your entire life can be filled with purpose.
This chart just visualizes it perfectly. You have two people, they perform the exact same good deed. But the person whose intention is a little bit tainted, maybe they're hoping for some praise from other people, they get a small reward. It's finite. But the person whose intention is purely for God, their reward is multiplied beyond measure. The intention is the ultimate amplifier.
So, after this whole deep dive into the language and the practical side of things, it all points back to one place. It takes us away from focusing on the external action and brings us into the most important place of all, the world within you.
At the end of the day, your heart is the engine for every single action you take. It's the source code. In a corrupted engine, an intention that's aimed at anything other than the highest, purest purpose can take the grandest, most impressive-looking deed and just render it completely empty of any real value.
And that leaves us with one final powerful question to carry with you. Before your next action, your very next email, your next conversation, even your next simple act of kindness, just pause for 1 second and ask yourself, what is my intention?